Alibaba's powerful uncle hates how his nephew visits many beds of the caliphate and fetches a professor to set Alibaba on the straight and narrow, but Ali humiliates the professor, thinking Alibaba is homo. Kadi's wife sets up a wedding, enlisting the help of a sorceress magic potion to make Alibaba fall for the selected woman. But the bride to be falls for Alibaba instead. One of the numerous early 70s comedies which feature mythical heroes engaging in love escapade with a series of beautiful women. Yes, there are lots of naked women on offer in this movie, but not really that much of a plot. Technically, the film is perfect, very colorful and with excellent set and lighting. But let's face it, who cares about the scenery when all these naked women are on view? With this French Italian offering, you can be sure there is not long to wait before another nubile young woman parade herself before the camera. The lead role of Alibaba is played as a mischievous and excitable young man by the British-born Alan Barker, who never went on to fame of any sort. However, I have to admit that he does look good in the role and probably comes closest to how most people think Alibaba would look. As for the supporting cast, well, most of the men are portrayed as bumbling idiot getting into all sort of scrap, and the women aren't exactly required to act. The plot sees Ali going from one woman to the next until he ends up falling from a window, and then some woman makes an aphrodisiac potion or something, and the film ends with everybody sleeping together. This is mildly amusing stuff, but nothing to go out of your way to see. But at 80 minutes in length, it never becomes boring or dull. The first real film produced and filmed in Italy has been discussed for years. Some say it could be Obscenity by Paul Sally, some I Porno Amore di Eva by Giorgio Mile, others Seso Nero by Massachusetts, and so on. The real puzzle, in my opinion, is not so much in searching for the first Italian made hard film to appear on native screens, but in identifying the first film where any Italian crew shot hard sequences or details. For example, films like Emmanuel in America, where the famous absent in the Italian edition, in addition to being the hard debut of the future starlet Marina Lotta, is also an example of pre-80s Italian hard. Speaking of this, therefore wanted to ask your opinion on what could be the very first Italian film in which explicit sequences were made. While doing research, came across this mysterious title, which is supposed to be a mix between cloak and dagger and erotic comedy. In Italy, the film was handed down to us in a soft version, but in France 3 years later, with the title Reus Lubricus, it arrived on the screens with what, according to contemporary testimonies, would be its original heart sequences and therefore belonging to the original footage. This film currently available only in the soft version, which is nothing more than a television recording, is also mentioned in the excellent Luce Rosa of Grattarola and Naples. In a short paragraph of note regarding the career of director Marchi, which 9 years later he will direct two poorly made hardcore films in Italy. One of the popular genre of Italian cinema was once the so-called Decam Erotico, the founder of which is almost always considered to be the scandalous Pier Paolo Pasolini, who directed in 1971 to 1972 the films The Decameron and The Canterbury Tales, which received great international success, marking the beginning of the mass production of their imitation in Italy. More serious research in the archaeology of the genre shows that something similar to all the well-known Baccacian comedies was filmed in the Apennines back in 1966-1967, when the Archdevil, Ettore Scola, Passionate Knight, Armando Crispiano, and A Virgin for a Prince, Pascal Festa Campanile. Within this genre, which lived a short life, there was also a subgenre called Oriental Erotico, the basis of which was not the frivolous short stories of Giovanni Boccaccio, but the famous monument of medieval Arab Persian literature, the Book of the Thousand and One Nights. Oriental erotic Italian comedy has an extremely small representation and consists of only 6 films, while there are almost 50 decamo-erotic films. Among the Italian filmmakers who made the mark in Oriental erotico was Luigi Latini de Marchi, a director who devoted most of his career to making films in the capa e spada genre. Adventure films with a historical background, the most important element of which was fencing. In 1973, Marchi directed the film The Knights of Alibaba's Love. This creation was an Italian-French co-production and had 2 versions, a softer Italian one and a more explicit French one. There are also rumors about the existence of a hardcore version, the appearance of which people from the Marchi's team were not involved in. For a long time, Knights of Love were listed as missing in action. Judge Carla's son Alibaba has a well-deserved reputation as an incorrigible womanizer, which greatly upset his misogynistic father. To cure her son of female temptation, Kali invited a German psychologist, Dr. Feucht, to the kingdom. Alibaba learns about his father's plan from one of his mistresses and does everything possible to prevent Feucht from reaching his destination. This film, of course, has nothing in common with the original story of Alibaba from the Thousand and One Night. The story of a poor woodcutter who finds a cave filled with gold and the jewels of robbers. Marchi presents to the viewer not even a paraphrase, but an ordinary erotic comedy placed in the scenery of the medieval East, and parasitic on the fame of the character Alibaba. Alibaba de Marchi was created as a hyper playboy, the son of a noble and influential dignitary. The whole story is based on the escapade of Alibaba, wandering around the kingdom in search of love adventures with various beauties. His father, who for personal reasons has a negative attitude towards the opposite body, intend to stop his son's fornication and force him to settle down. For this purpose, he orders a famous psychologist from abroad. Another problematic character is a nobleman named Isba. He is homo. The antidote to this disease is the beautiful witch Yasira, who has a magical robe that can awaken attraction to women. Feminism is also added to this set. Women angry at Kali's regular sentences unite and begin to rebel. At the end, all characters have a love happy ending. Nights of Love has that very specific Italian humor, but it is quite acceptable and can even bring a slight smile on the face. As for the erotica, there is not so much of it in the Italian version, and it is unremarkable. Although the scene of a magical ritual by the sea looks interesting. The visuals of the film are pleasant, and in some places the director even manages to create an oriental flavor. But overall, Marchi faced the same problem as his other colleague, those who filmed Oriental Erotico. Due to limited fund, filming was carried out in Italy, the natural location of which, to put it mildly, were not very similar to the landscape of the Middle East. The music of Lalo Gori certainly deserves a positive assessment. These purely oriental melodies serve as a serious help for creating an authentic atmosphere. In his work on Nights of Love, Marchi used a predominantly French-Italian cast. The role of Ali Baba was played by little-known actor Louis Lato, who used the pseudonym Alan Barker. The funny fat man, Dr. Proist, was perfectly played by the Frenchman Pierre Mirat. One of the female roles went to his compatriot Colette Castle, who starred with such celebrities as Renclay and Henry George Clausot. The character of the Austrian actress and model Krista Nell, the witch Yasira, is memorable. In one of the scenes, the owner of her beautiful bust, Barbara Marzano, appears on the screen. Piero Regnoli, who needs no introduction to fans of Italian cinema, also appeared here. Ali Baba's Night of Love is not a great comedy, but it's not a bad one. A number of funny scenes, beautiful pictures in places, eroticism coupled with pleasant music, all the necessary components of a good, entertaining film are present here. Perhaps the French version is even better.